In this week's Weather Extra, this is a very important week. Had you heard? Hope you have. Maybe you haven't. This is Air Quality Awareness Week. And not just here with the Bay Area Air Quality District wanting to make sure we're all aware of this. This is a national thing. Don't feel bad if you hadn't heard yet. This is the kind of thing that understandably for a lot of people might go unnoticed, except in the new era that we live in terms of wildfire smoke and our concerns about the effect it's having on us. Hopefully more people are paying attention this year. And that's the goal of this week's Weather Extra. And maybe you didn't need a reminder of what it looked like around here on September 9th, 2020. But in case you did, this is what it looked like here on September 9th, 2020. It's come to be known colloquially as Red Sky Day. This was when we were in the midst of one of the worst fire seasons on record, and we woke up on this day with a convergence of smoke, a plume of smoke that was pointed right at the Bay Area. And when we woke up in the morning, it looked kind of like the apocalypse. Now, this kind of stuff has an effect on our health. I'll get to that in 1 second. But it also impacts people's psychology.
I looked outside and it looked like doomsday. I mean, you could tell something is horribly going wrong.
So no doubt this left an impression on a lot of people. Let's fast forward. Let's come back to this week now. It's Air Quality Awareness Week nationally. What happened here last week might be a reminder for us on this. That's a view from the top of the Salesforce Tower, looking off towards the east at sunrise. The sky's always going to look a little red at sunrise. But on this day, just the last week of April this year at sunrise, the sky looked a little more red than it should have. And you could see a little bit of haze out there. It was not a cloudy day. Turns out, on April 27th of this year, that was wildfire smoke in our sky. And on that date, there wasn't a significant wildfire within 1,000 miles of here. There was no local fire that should have been responsible for that. And what happened on April 27th went unnoticed by most people, except for those of us in the meteorology community and those of us who are concerned about air quality and smoke. And you can see where it was coming from when you look at the big picture. There's California, there's Northern California down there. Regular satellite, but look in the middle. All that light gray stuff is smoke coming from the other side of the Pacific. I'll show you where in 1 second, but we can actually look at this in a different way. Not just at the visible satellite. If you look at it where the satellites are able to read the aerosols, the particles in the air beyond just the clouds, the actual stuff like particulate matter coming from smoke or pollution, the brighter the color, the higher the concentration of stuff like that. And right where that gray patch was, there's a big plume of smoke showing up. So we know that was smoke. And if we track it back using a wider view across the entire Pacific, just looking at those aerosols, we can see where this is coming from. There's a big patch of it coming out of Siberia and then traveling across the entire Pacific Ocean to us. And if we use the satellites in another way, this was April 22nd, that's Siberia. Every one of those red dots on here is a wildfire that's burning, but it's the big one over here shaped like a triangle that's putting off the huge plume of smoke, which was the bigger offender. There's a lot of smoke coming from here. And Siberia does this. And Siberia does this a lot more in the last decade. The wildfires in Siberia have been becoming a lot more intense, and they've been putting out a lot more smoke than they used to. They always used to burn in the summer, but they've been reaching record levels. In fact, 2021 saw more wildfires in Siberia than we'd ever seen here on record. The other thing about that smoke getting pulled our way is this time of year, April into early May, the way the atmosphere is set up, it's primed to have a jet stream that kind of screams across the Pacific from Asia towards the west coast of the U.S. So that's not all out of the ordinary to have the atmosphere working in a way that any stuff that was going to get developed over here in Siberia would get pulled our way. Nonetheless, you probably didn't notice it, but we kind of already started our season this year in terms of wildfire and the smoke. And that's the way climate change is really impacting not only wildfire regimes, but air quality. It's not only the local wildfires that we should be concerned about. Now it's potentially global wildfires because of the ability of these fires to grow so large, but also because of the transport through the atmosphere. If you look at the air quality sensors, take a look at Concord. This is going back for the last week. On April 26th, there was a spike in moderate levels of particulate matter in Concord. And it wasn't only Concord. It was Bay Area wide, same signature. April 26th, there was a spike. That's for San Jose. Let's go to the North Bay. Same story here. Sebastopol, same issue. Everywhere else it was good, but we did get a little bit of a moderate spike on that day when we were seeing that really red sunrise. Let's go to the other side of California. Folsom, same pattern. And if we go north, we saw it in Portland and Seattle, only they got it 2 days earlier because they were a little closer to it. That's the spike in particulate matter showing up for, this one is Portland, but I've looked and Seattle's got the same exact signature showing up for them. It's Air Quality Awareness Week, in case you hadn't heard. So we did okay last week. It wasn't like we had unhealthy levels of air quality, but considering we're now trying to raise the awareness of the importance of air quality to our health, and we've certainly gotten plenty of reminders over this over the last several years anyway, I thought the fact that we already pulled in smoke from a place so many people wouldn't expect we would, and it probably went unnoticed by so many people last week that we did. Just like Air Quality Awareness Week just might go unnoticed by a lot of people as well. It was interesting, the timing, and hopefully this just puts this in our mind a little more. We've still got several more months to go, hopefully, before we start dealing with smoke season here, but all the indications in the landscape are it's coming, and we'll be tracking it, and we'll be keeping you updated as it does. That's this week's Weather Extra. Paul Hagen will be in next week with another one.